Let's record a podcast, huh?
Let's record a podcast. Sprinkle it with dew. The Candyman can, cause he sprinkles with dew and makes the dew taste good. Try Mountain Dew. Joker, Folia Dew. Sponsored by Mountain Dew.
Welcome to NewWayStories podcast. My name is Jesse, and as you've heard, we have a new sponsor, which is a co-sponsor of another sponsor. We are a comedy podcast that should not be taken seriously, except for when we are giving you advice. Like our last episode, if you missed it, it's all about unsolicited advice, and we tell you what you should do when you hear unsolicited advice.
I would make sure that when you were, to recap, when you die, you can make sure that your gifts are payable from your estate to NewWayStories.
We accept property,
LLC,
cars, cold hard cash,
yes,
non-liquid, liquid assets.
Non-liquid, liquid assets like Mountain Dew.
I was going to say, if you have your fridge full of Mountain Dew, we will clean it for you. I have not drank a Mountain Dew.
Bequeath it to us.
I have not drank a Mountain Dew in years.
Yeah.
It's been a decade. It's been a decade.
Probably a good thing.
I drink Squirt. That's
yeah, you do.
I'm not trash. Okay, I don't drink Mountain Dew.
I drink Sprite like an adult.
Yeah.
Could I have a squirt on ice,
yes,
please? Thank you. Bring the bottle to the table.
Brings you 2 liter.
Brings a 2 liter of squirt.
That's nice.
Tell them at D, I'd like a squirt. Excuse me, sir? It's a drink.
With me, as always, is Darius Giles and Ben Salazar. So,
Shapiro.
of my favorite sodas is the Mexican made, where it's Coke bottles. It's made with real cane sugar, right?
Oh yeah.
But then they also make a Squirt with it, with the real cane sugar, and so you call it Mexican Coke, and it sounds fine. But then you go, can I get a Mexican Squirt? And you don't know what you're talking about.
Or what you're going to get.
You don't know what you're going to get. Or, after you eat like a lot of, rice and beans, sometimes you get the Mexican Squirts. It's all lowbrow.
Oh, that taco truck. That taco truck gave me the Mexican Squirts.
We're all very...
We don't go there anymore. No mas.
No mas. It was 2 mas at the time.
Muchas squirtas. Si vous plaît. So Spanish.
Hey, right? Speaking of Mexican Squirt, it's horror season.
What?
It's spooky season. And what I wanted to do over the next few weeks is give you guys good book and movie recs, because I feel like people miss out on the good stuff in that category. And if not a lot of people watch horror like year round or whatever, so you may not know what is out there, or you're like, I just don't like horror films, and I think that you've seen movies that are not fun. I think that I'm recommending horror films that are fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we just watched Renfield.
Did you like it?
It was pretty good. It wasn't my favorite, but I had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be. It's here. You're here for a good time. I mean, Nick Cage was super funny.
Yes,
in it.
He gave a great performance. Okay,
so here are the books that I recommend. You got John Dies at the End. Very funny.
Okay,
spoiler alert.
What happens at the end?
I can't tell you. Okay. But there's a whole series of these.
But it's not looking good for John.
It doesn't look good for John. John dies at the end. Pretty funny,
Forecast
but
for John
also
is
just
bleak.
It's funny, but it's also a solid story, right? So it's not. I think sometimes you read what is it, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? This is Hitchhiker's Guide is just pure satire on the science fiction. It's a good science fiction story, but it's satire, right? It's there for the jokes, right? He goes to Planet Cricket, and then he makes how cricket jokes and how boring the sport is. but all in the guise of talking about the planet Cricket. This book, not the case. It's just a horror story that also is funny. Okay. Meddling kids. There's a lot of puns to Scooby-Doo. There's these kids that solve crimes in rural Oregon, and now something terrible happened to them, and they all come back together as adults, and they got to solve this mystery. And there's a giant monster, and
that's fun.
It's a lot of. It's also pretty funny, pretty spooky. A lot of tropes in there.
How many spooks? I think we should rate them like 1 to 5, 1 to 10 spooks.
John dies at the end.
Yep.
Like we'll call her 5 spooks just for like content matter.
Yeah.
But there was never a point where I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying.
Like you had to throw the book to the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
5 out of 5 total spooks?
No, 5 out of 10 spooks. We got
5 out of 10 spooks.
Yeah,
right in the middle.
Half spooky.
Yeah.
Meddling kids, I will say that there were more frightening moments in it, even though it is more absurd. Mm-hmm. So let's go 6.5 spooks.
6.5 spooks. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty spooky.
And then number 3 is Pines. This is not a funny book at all. We're gonna a hard shift here, but there was a TV series based on these books called Wayward Pines.
Okay.
And it was written and directed by the Duffer Brothers, and that is what launched them into being able to do Stranger Things, right? The success of
that's cool.
Wayward Pines gave them Stranger Things.
Rad.
Are there Eggo waffles in Pines?
I don't believe so. So Pines,
missed opportunity.
Definitely you are introduced to this character that doesn't know anything, and then you just kind of like the mysteries and answers, kind of all unravel as the book goes on. So it's a whole thing in this small town in Idaho called Wayward Pines.
So you got a book out of Oregon.
People are really into the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, Meddling Kids also in Oregon. I didn't realize that.
You need to do a Washington.
Now I feel lame because John Dies at the End is like. Actually, I think it's in Chicago.
Go!
I didn't even mean to do that.
You should just
John
throw
Dies
in.
at the End takes place in Japan. Too far west. Too far west.
Sneak in a Twin Peaks. So we can have
Twin
one.
Peaks. You should watch Twin Peaks the show.
I'm watching Twin Peaks the show right now.
Are you?
And I'm halfway through the 2nd season, and we always talk about how networks should give creators creative liberties and freedoms, and then you watch Twin Pines and you realize that's why they made that rule. Every once in a while, you got to have somebody who's like, "Whoa, rated it's crazy."
Definitely, there's 2 seasons or 3 seasons total?
There's 2, and then there's a follow-up season apparently.
Right, the Showtime one. Okay, so yes, the Twin Peaks is like incredible for a season and a half, and then it goes off the rails. But I also think that they might have been canceling it. Right, that always happens with shows where they go, "Hey, we're gonna cancel you," and then you're like, "Well, okay, now we've got 6 episodes to do whatever we want and whatever we can."
I mean, I love the show.
Yeah,
I do think it's really cool. It's very creative.
Yeah,
but it got canceled. Who wouldn't cancel this crazy show?
Yeah.
There had to have been in 1990 when the 2nd season came out. There had to have been 12 people who were like, "Oh, I can't wait!"
It's crazy.
And everybody else was.
It's crazy because it
else was
became.
like, yeah, this is wild.
It became like a phenomenon, though. Like Kyle MacLachlan hosted SNL because of it.
Again, I'm sure that especially the first season is only 8 episodes.
Yeah.
And so it's
that first season's
so
great,
so strong.
Yeah.
And then you start realizing, pretty much immediately at the beginning of the 2nd season, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no culprit. It's just a bunch of wish-wash.
It's a less commercial appeal of Lost. Right.
Literally.
Lost had a lot of commercial appeal, but probably by season 3 you go, all right, they have no idea where they're going with this.
Yep, same thing.
And then in Twin Peaks, you go, man, you set up this really awesome mystery. I kind of have been thinking about this, is trying to think through like Space Pioneer 2 and 3, where you're like, man, I can set up these really cool mysteries, but the answers are never cool enough to, you know what I mean? Where you're like, okay, well, what if this is what is happening? You go, well, that sucks. What if this is what is happening? You go, yeah, it makes sense, but that's a pretty big letdown, right? So the temptation is to keep the mystery going, and then but then you make the mystery too big, right? Where Twin Peaks, it happens where you go, now this is like insane, like what is happening? And then like in Lost, you know, polar bears are going, you go, what's this big monster? And they never explain it. And then it's like, oh, we were, you know, and then there's like a whole season where they are off the island, but they never are off the island. It's
all that to say, Twin Peaks taking place in Twin Peaks, Washington, which is not a real place.
That was all to say. Yes, North
It's
Bend.
funny because in the show they have no context of like what Washington is shaped like, I guess.
Yeah,
because they're like, oh yeah, just south of us in Spokane, 50 miles.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, I'm going to take a 30-minute drive over to Seattle today.
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, well,
and there's a short
drive your helicopter.
Isn't One Eye Jack's in Canada?
In Canada,
yeah. So. Yeah. Yes, Twin Peaks, awesome. Yeah, you know, the first season is amazing. But Pines, okay, movies.
Pines.
Here we go. Movie.
Wait,
Rex.
How many spooks is Pines?
Pines is definitely like a 7 or 8 spooky.
Whoa, that is.
It's definitely more of like a suspense, thriller sort of thing, where John dies at the end, meddling kids. There's like, you know, John dies at the end is ghosts and, you know, demons trying to take over the world. Meddling kids is a giant monster, you know. Pines is like, he's a secret agent that wakes up not really remembering anything, and he just found out that his partner was murdered, and you're like, what mysteries does this small town have to offer? And it's so many mysteries.
Too many
mysteries, some would say. No, the show is great, and so I was excited to read the books, and book is also good. All right,
phenomenal.
Movies. Arachnophobia is my first rec. You can stream it on Peacock. Here's the thing about Arachnophobia. It has Jeff Daniels in it. I think it's from 1995.
1990.
1990?
I don't think I've seen Jesse be that far off.
Wow.
Year a movie came out.
That
a while.
Is surprising to me. So here is why.
Closer than I would have gotten.
It has John Goodman in it.
I don't think I could do this movie.
You don't like spiders?
No, I don't think I could do it. I was at war with the spiders in the basement.
He just hates John Goodman.
So you
don't like spiders? No, I hate John Goodman.
So it just is like, it's the spider thing. I've had a lot of people, they're like, I can't read Rat Race. I hate rats. And I'm like, you don't actually ever see rats. Like, you don't ever have to like deal with them. So,
you only see words.
So Arachnophobia is kind of like this first, I guess, when was Tremors out? 90 as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an interesting thing, Tremors and Arachnophobia. This is kind of the first movies that we see horror, but also trying to intentionally be funny. You have 80s horror films that, you know, that's where the slashers like really became a thing, but you have other movies that are so absurd that are funny, but they're not necessarily meant to be funny. Does that make sense? Like,
is Evil Dead not meant to be funny?
Correct. Okay. But there's absurdity. There's absurdity in it that makes you laugh, and there's some moments that like make you laugh, but it's not like a joke. But it's I think we were talking about this with John Ralph on our horror episode a year ago. Yeah. There's something so close in horror and joke telling.
Yeah, that's funny.
That I think that they kind of lend to each other because you have to have a perfect setup and a perfect punchline for it to work. And if you don't, then the horror falls really flat and you're like, this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
In the same way that if a stand-up comedian tries a joke and he misses on the setup or the punchline, you're like, this is really embarrassing for them.
But then when he gets it right, he kills it on stage.
Exactly. He murders.
He murders.
So arachnophobia.
He's disgusting.
You have this straight.
He's
You have this
hated.
straight
He's hated
horror
by
film.
mankind.
You have a straight horror film, but also funny, right? And there's like lines that are meant to be funny. And John Goodman's character as the exterminator is like a funny character, although he plays it straight, right? I think that's another thing too, is that you have characters playing it straight with funny things, and this is kind of my like favorite genre. I love Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I think we've talked about this before. Maybe that'll be an official rec down the line, but it is a funny movie that's meant to be funny, joking about horror films, right? And
Alan Tudyk's in it.
Alan Tudyk, yeah, is one of the main characters. It's so funny, but these guys are. It's a comedy. It's a comedy movie, and there's comedy characters and comedy situations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Arachnophobia. They're playing it straight. Okay,
Okay, really quick. Can I just say, 20 years after the movie Dodgeball came out, who would have thought that the actor everyone is still talking about, Steve the Pirate?
right. Yeah, totally.
I love that. Sorry.
Who am I gonna
Moving on.
share all this treasure with? Who would have thought he would have outlasted Vince Vaughn? I don't think anybody would have predicted that.
Was not on my, I love Vince Vaughn. Not that Vince Vaughn's he's still around. He's still doing stuff.
Is he?
But Alan Tudyk.
Is he?
Sorry. I'm so sorry for that tangent.
So that's 1990. Then you fast forward a few years
Okay.
to like what, 96? You have Scream.
Scream.
If
In
you-
space, no one will hear you scream.
If you have not watched Scream, listen, you got to just watch it. Wes Craven directs it, who, this is kind of like an ode to slasher films, and Wes Craven was like one of the OGs in that world, and some of the characters also, or one of the characters really explains horror movies, right? So this is when you kind of learn about like the final girl and why people die in slasher films, and he, like, his character, he's like, I'm safe even though there's a slasher running around, because he's like, I'm a virgin, so I like can't be killed by this guy. Right. So this is on Max. Scream also has some really funny moments, but it is just also a awesome slasher film. Scream.
It's so funny how
I only suggest the first one. I can't.
Is Scream family friendly as far as horror movies go?
I mean,
Family friendly is the wrong.
There's
term.
no like sex stuff in it.
That is my big question.
and it's not super gory. I mean, there are people being stabbed, but like, it's not like over the top like splatter film stuff.
Well, I bet when this came out, that mask was probably terrifying. Like, people saw that and were like, oh my gosh, what a horrifying figure. I've seen so many little Mexicans dress up like this little
Yeah, Ghostface.
That
is a funny thing.
It's lost any sort of like
Absolutely.
Fear.
Absolutely. But if you like think about the opening scene where Drew Barrymore gets killed, like when that face pops up and you have never seen it before, there's a phone call and the line gets cut and she thinks someone's pranking her, but then you see his face like in the dark. It's scary for sure. But I agree. It's become such a thing now where every little kid dresses up like Scream because it's an easy mask, right? You can put it on. You just do a black like cloak and it's good.
Well, dude.
I doubt those kids have actually seen Scream.
We have to have a separate
You'd be
conversation
surprised.
about the socioeconomics of Halloween costumes.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be
interesting.
good.
The more hood place you live, the scarier kids' Halloween costumes are. And I mean that with 100% sincerity.
A pot just fell in the background. No one around it. No cats knocking it down. Think.
Oh, you guys
This
are about
house
to
is
get murdered.
haunted. Yeah.
10 out of 10 spookies.
I mean, 10 out of 10 spookies. We're going to relocate to finish this pod. No,
that'd be a good conversation though. So you said
For later.
the scarier.
I honestly stopped listening because that pot fell
Yeah,
down.
that threw me off. I
What
was
were
like,
you
who
saying?
is there?
I'm saying this across all ethnicities.
Yeah.
From experience being a white person.
Yeah.
Like Jesse. The more hood the area you live is, the scarier the kids' Halloween costumes are.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I could.
I just think that's an odd. It's like WWE. Like WWE,
Yeah.
biggest demographic is low income 10-year-olds. I feel like the Scream costume is like a similar thing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I could get behind that. I don't think I ever bought a straight up Halloween costume. I always
That's a different kind of broke.
I
yeah.
always compiled, right? Where and then it's you're trying to brainstorm with your parents, and you go, well, you could be an army guy, and you go, okay, yeah, I could be that. That is really cool. And they go, yeah, you got camo pants and a shirt in your drawer. You just put that on. You go, great point. And then you just
Put on some boots.
yeah, right. You just find stuff around the house. They go, can I be Superman? They go, you know what would be even cooler? If you made up your own superhero, and then we could put a blanket around your around your neck, and we'll duct tape a logo on it.
That's also
You go, yeah, my own superhero. That is cooler. You're right.
That's also like the difference between being like broke in the hood and broke, but your parents are still responsible.
Yeah.
That those are two different groups of people. Broke in the hood is like generally your parents have no financial
Acumen?
literacy. Yeah. Wow.
Is that a correct word?
That was freaking awesome. And
Yeah.
the face you made after you said it.
Sometimes I kind of dive into big words without real confidence. Well, sometimes I dive into big words with real confidence, and then Kate's the only person who calls me on it. She's like, I don't think that word means what you think it means.
You cannonballed right into that, and it was the right pool.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, I don't even know why we're still talking
10
about
out of 10
this.
spookies.
10 out of 10 spookies.
Final
Acumen, that's
movie
spooky.
rec.
Okay.
Idle Hands. You have to rent this one on Prime. It's not streaming anywhere. We
Or
got
on VHS.
early days Jessica Alba and early days Seth
Myers.
Green.
Yeah.
Seth
Seth
Green.
Green, yeah.
Seth Green, right?
What is it
Ben
called?
Salazar, you don't know who Seth Green is?
I think I do know Seth Green.
Yeah, Seth
His
Green.
name is. You might know him as Scotty.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're not evil. You're quasi-evil. You're semi-evil.
One of my most favorite
You're
scenes.
naughty. You're bad.
One of my most favorite scenes is in, I think it's number 2.
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers 2, when they're on Jerry Springer, and it's like, my dad is trying to take over the world. Maybe it's in the first one, but it's got
No, it's the
this
second
Nazi
one. It's
guy.
the beginning of the second one.
Yeah, the Nazi guy and another guy, but then Scotty is out, and he goes, my dad, he just like is always trying to take over the world. He goes, well, Scott, we have a surprise for you. And then like Dr. Evil walks out, and it's all, and then like in Jerry Springer fashion, like devolves, and there's bleeping and fighting. It's so
That's it.
freaking good.
That's the scene. That's the scene where Dr. Evil goes, "You're not evil,
yeah.
Scotty. I'm so sorry. You're quasi-evil. You're semi-evil."
Oh, that's great. So yeah, Idle Hands. This is also in. Listen, there's a late '90s, mid to late '90s, horror film resurgence with Scream, and I know what you did last summer. I think is late '90s.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the? There's another one.
I don't know. Final Destination.
Final Destination.
Was
That was the one that I was thinking of.
Not necessarily slasher, but
no. But there's a resurgence of horror
stuff.
films in the late 90s, and Idle Hands was in that. And so also this is like one of the spiritual truths that has set with me. Is there's a character, right? So he's kind of the bad boy character. Well, the plot is that this lazy teenager, his hand gets possessed by the devil, and then the demon hand then kills people, right? He's not doing it.
Yes.
The hand, and so he like goes to the bad boy of the neighborhood. He's working on his car like a real man, and he goes, "Hey, some weird stuff is happening to me." He goes, idle hands are the devil's playground, which is an old saying, but I hadn't heard it until this movie. And it's such like a good spiritual truth. And then this movie is just kind of based on that. And so it is hilarious. Seth Green, his friend, gets killed early, and then there's another guy, and they're like ghosts the rest of the movie. It's pretty funny. Yeah, man, Idle Hands. So if you're feeling a fun, I love this movie. I mean, you have to rent it, which is frustrating. I feel like every movie just needs to be streamable at this point. It's like, hey, we've come to
put it on a service.
Yeah, put it on a service somewhere, and it was popular enough that it should be on there. I want either no streaming, and I have to go back to Blockbuster where I get to look for movies, or even no streaming and just like I'll pay per watch. Like, that's fine for me.
Charge me like iTunes this stuff.
Yeah.
Charge me 99 cents.
Absolutely.
Per watch.
Absolutely.
I would pay $1, even if it was literally for like a 5-hour rental.
Yeah.
I'd pay $1.
Absolutely.
99 cents to watch a movie. Obviously, they don't know how to monetize this system yet. So
I have a hard time. Like, I still rent movies off of Prime because every now and again I'll be like, okay, I really want to watch this movie, and there's just no other place to watch it.
Yep.
But after I'm paying for 7 streaming services, I'm like, am I going to also rent a movie for $5.99?
Yeah.
Like, it hurts to do that. I still do it, but
it's a month subscription to Peacock.
Right? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So
what's funny to me is they need to make
figured
a new,
out. Big streaming.
Remember the you wouldn't steal a DVD?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Ad.
Yeah.
What is that ad gonna look like today? You wouldn't steal a password, would you?
Yeah. Depends on what it got.
You wouldn't hack into a mainframe, would you?
You wouldn't share your Netflix account, would you?
Well, yeah, I would. I'm like, nice guy.
Yeah, that's why wouldn't I like give that to my friends?
You wouldn't leave your Amazon account open at your parents' house, would you?
Dude, okay.
Like, I mean, I guess if they like Amazon Prime, why not use it?
I was gonna say, Kate and I are both on my mother-in-law's Amazon Prime, and so we have like 10 different cards on Amazon Prime. We've got 3 different addresses, names and addresses. Yeah.
Yep.
Classic. Okay,
Wait, how many spookies?
Oh, spookies.
Spookies.
Spookies. Oh, I wasn't really giving spookies for the movies. Arachnophobia, we're gonna give 7 out of 10 spookies.
Oh, that's
because
spooky.
That's a lot of spookies.
The spiders are real.
The
spiders are real.
Wait, what?
The spiders, it's a real, they're spooky. That's all I'm saying.
You mean like they got jars of spiders and dumped them out all over the place?
Exactly. I mean, probably.
Are you serious?
This is 1990.
What did they do when they were done filming? Kill them?
No. They gathered them all back up into the jars and put them back in South America where they came from.
They got a flute and they said, "Spiders, follow me."
Scream, 8 out of 10 spookies. It's genuinely like a great slasher film. I can never remember his name. Matthew Lillard. Matthew Lillard is in it. You might know him better as Shaggy.
Zoinks.
I really, really enjoy Matthew Lillard. And then Idle Hands will dial it back down to 6.5 spookies because it is mostly funny, but there is a demon possessed hand that kills people. But there's it's also a fun teen, it's like teen rom-com devil-possessed hand. You know?
Okay. Weird combo.
The greatest combo. So if you're looking for spooky movies or reads that are also fun, there you go.
10 Things I Hate About You meets 7 Deadly Sins.
17 sins.
7 Things I Hate About You, which is just a rom-com about the 7 deadly sins.
Oh, that's even better. That's even better.
Just imagining like 10 Things I Hate About You-esque movies or Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
But all the characters are like, like handsome, mid-20s CW actors playing 17-year-olds, but then one of them's just the devil. Yeah. Just ugly, just looks like demonic. Just walks in with a plaid shirt on and his hair coiffed.
I mean, that's a little bit like Teen Wolf.
It's almost like no one understands me.
Well, I was going to say, it's a little bit of Teen Wolf thought, right? Where it's just like, I'm a werewolf, but I'll also be cool. If I'm good at basketball, which people are like, I don't know, man. People wouldn't really be all for a werewolf. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, man. If you are
werewolves
good
are
at
dope. Werewolves are tight.
The world has showed us that if you're really good at sports, like we forget your sins pretty quickly. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a moment. Seriously, like if OJ would have if this would have happened during his football career, and they were like, "Hey, he might be a murderer," and then he was like let off, and then went and won MVP again. They go, "What a comeback story! What a comeback story!" OJ, best running back ever. You go, I think he still might be a murderer. You go, yeah, but he rushed for 1,500 yards.
Yeah, he killed that game.
No one tackles him because they're worried of what he will do. You go, hey guys, let's not be afraid of him, okay? He doesn't kill men.
Not a quarterback stabber.
I mean, it happens, right? I think that there should be a certain line of forgiveness and people can move forward. But
like a certain level of fame, you mean? Like a certain line, like a threshold to which if you get to that threshold, people have to forgive you for everything.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. But I mean, it's just I don't know what the penance has to be, but I mean, Michael Vick served 7 years in jail for dogfighting, right?
Smokes.
But then he's he's on ESPN as an NFL analyst. You got, I mean,
throw that dog a bone.
I mean, he did almost a decade in jail. He probably has served his time.
He's repaid his restitution. To society.
All of a sudden he's back on TV talking about mobile quarterbacks. And it's
who is this?
Michael Vick. Have you never heard of this?
It was a long time ago. It was 16, 17 years ago.
This guy?
Yeah, that's him. But yeah, I don't know.
Look, I say if you can beat up a dog, then fight it.
No, he wasn't fighting the dogs.
You think that he wasn't?
No.
What did he get in trouble for then?
Yeah, he was just watching.
What?
Which also
did the dogs go to jail?
No.
Oh, you say we forgive celebrities quickly. It feels like we forgive pets quickly.
Those dogs were fighting, promoting violence, guys.
Obviously, dog fighting was bad.
It is definitely bad.
Yep.
Even if you're not technically fighting them.
Right. I mean, I think that you could make a better argument where you go, hey, you're fighting the dog. So it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, what if you needed to fight the dog?
Well, that's different. It's different. Obviously, same thing with cockfighting. If you have to fight the rooster... Actually, roosters are dicks. I don't know if you guys know this. If you're walking across a yard and there's a rooster that it's his territory, he'll come.
He will mess you
He'll come
up.
at you.
I actually have a kid that I grew up with. He was
murdered by
younger.
A rooster.
He has scars all over his face.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's just deformed. He wasn't killed. My bad.
He's a freak. Just kidding. I'm sorry.
He has scars all over his face from a rooster.
Oh, sneeze.
Sneeze.
Just a bunch of chicken scratch.
So yeah, we got spooky movies, we got spooky books, we got spooky jokes.
Spooky jokes, guys. We might be canceled after this. Can you cancel someone who has like 50 listens on a podcast episode? I think we've talked about this before. Let's get into fears. No, before that, I just wanted to mention, you're like, hey, this kind of sounds like a new intro, and it looks kind of like a new thing. That's because Ben Salazar made our intro music.
Just forget it.
I don't know if you remember what happened 45 minutes ago.
Rewind right now. What are you doing?
45 minutes ago, you heard something new.
So you're driving on the highway? Look down for 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
Back
it's
to the
fine.
beginning.
You only are traveling 80 yards.
1,000, 1,000.
You're driving. Okay. Just be quick is what we're trying to say. And also the logo, Ben Salazar did that. We're a podcast that sometimes talks about creativity, so I think we should give creative props to people who are doing creative things. Thanks, Ben.
Okay.
Yeah. Ben also has a hard time taking compliments, which is something we can talk about later. What I want to do right now is go into a little psychoanalyzing of me.
Okay.
And here's the thing. Kate and I are going to Hawaii.
Yep.
As soon as we stop recording here, I'm gone. I'm going to Hawaii. And they have this thing. I probably am not going to do it.
Not going to do it.
But I have a strange desire.
Okay.
They have a thing where they take you on a boat 3 miles off the coast, and they attract sharks. And then you can swim either in a cage or
tie a dumbbell to your legs.
Or open water. Yeah, they drive 3 miles. They make you like stand on the side and dumbbell to your legs, and then you go to the bottom of the ocean. It's crazy.
Face your fears. Don't be a wuss.
3 miles. They attract the sharks. You can swim in the tank, or they say in the blurb, if you're comfortable, you can open swim with the sharks.
Why would you want to do that?
I want to do it.
This is why we're psychoanalyzing me, because I think it's a legitimate question.
I want to do it. It's a stupid idea. And
it is a stupid idea.
Sharks are the scariest animal in the world.
They're scary, and the ocean itself is terrifying to me. We talked about it last week with the giant squid. Honestly, the sharks is the imminent threat, but I'm more terrified at the potential that a giant squid can also come up from the deep.
I don't know what the giant squid thing is, but it's terrifying. It's terrifying to think. I think that there are miles of ocean beneath you.
Yeah,
and
right,
you are
exactly.
readily accessible to anything down there.
Anything down there. And like these giant squids are like bigger than houses. Like it's insane. Dude. So, and I think there's such mystery to them, right? Because you never really see them, like a tentacle every now and again gets washed up. We like the pirates of old, right? You hear about the Kraken. It's just people seeing giant squids.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's a terrible beast out there.
Yeah, and those squids would wrap their arms around the pirate ships, break the masts, break the ship in half, and then swallow the ship's whole.
And then there's a giant maelstrom, and there's two ships battling. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. And then there's a woman there, and she's like David Jones.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost as scary as the ending of the Pirates trilogy, and almost as much of a waste of your time.
So do you like? Are you gonna swim with the sharks?
Here's the thing, boy, do I want to. I think open swimming with sharks sounds so appealing to me, and I'm terrified of it. But I want to face the fear. Like I want to immerse myself in something that is like utterly terrifying. There's not a whole lot of situations on my day-to-day life that I'm like afraid.
Yeah.
And I certainly am not like utterly terrified. I had a few moments.
The pan fell.
Well, we were getting there. There was something happening there. If another thing happens, like on the other side of the house, unexplainably, then we would start to have gotten into another level where you're like,
yeah.
The mess word might be going down. But what is that? Why do I have a desire? One, two, I think it is terrifying, but rationally, I'm like, listen, it's on the tourist website. If anybody was killed by a shark, they wouldn't be able to say, hey, and you can open swim with these sharks. Clearly, they have them trained or something.
I want all fake sharks.
You think it's like a whole like this dangerous like thing you're doing, but it's so safe. They've trained them for months.
Sorry, hold on.
They're dolphins with costumes on. They actually are really, really friendly.
And Kate's Kate's at the boat, like, oh, good job, Jesse. And Jesse's like, woo, woo.
They're like very obviously fake sharks, and everyone can tell. But the people who go down there just buy into it so hard.
Yeah.
They're like little cardboard. They're like little cardboard cutouts that people are moving around with sticks.
Oh my god! Wow.
Oh, dude. That would be so great. I think I would want to. Well, here's what I would want to do, though, is I want to open up the cage.
Okay.
And I would want to swim out, prove that I did it.
Okay.
And then as soon as a shark looked at me, I would slowly paddle back to the cage like Timon in The Lion King. And I would go, let me in. And I would shut the cage.
Also, the fact that you think you're going to just do a little paddle and you're not going to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're like the biggest strokes imaginable. You're going to be like panicking. You're like, oh, I'm just going to make my way back. No, you're going to be.
Yeah, dude. Hit my head on the cage, knock myself out. The sharks smell my blood. They go, oh, I haven't smelled meat that good in years. They're like, all Bruce.
He's like, is that Pfizer?
He smells my...
Is that the mRNA? Like, we got a Johnson & Johnson over here.
Why is it in your mind that the sharks are attracted to just COVID vaccines? They got a taste for it during COVID.
Yeah.
For some reason, it makes the blood sweeter.
Yeah.
We got a Johnson. I mean, if it was anything, it would be stay away from that guy. He smells like Johnson & Johnson. I'm surprised he hasn't had a heart attack yet.
I'm surprised he isn't dead already.
Yeah, dude. So who? And then they just go into politics. The sharks immediately just start talking. Two choices. Neither of them you like, right? Just immediately.
Who's gonna hold Fauci accountable? Huh?
I'll tell you what. Last week I had a funeral for my grandma, but wouldn't let me go because I didn't have a mask. And they just completely. Like, why are these sharks still talking about 2021 political arguments?
Yeah, and they're like...
They don't get the news readily down there, so they're just 3 years behind on current events.
That's never seen the best.
We think that... ultimately, the sharks are very political sharks. We're just assuming that these sharks are very invested in 3-year-old American political problems.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed all of that bit. Dang it. You guys did political sharks.
No, and
do we do card sharks?
Oh, black guy goes in there like, we can't eat him. We ought to be allies. Black lives matter. Another shark, I think all lives matter.
I said that I was going to go down with the sharks and start bleeding, and Ben started saying that the sharks were going to say, oh, he smells like Pfizer. And I was like, why did the sharks why did the sharks care what our COVID
These ultra right-wing sharks. There you go.
No, they like the Pfizer. He said they likes the Pfizer ones because it's sweeter, but he's like the Johnson & Johnson ones.
Oh, he likes the Pfizer. I thought you were like, I wouldn't, don't eat that one. It smells like Pfizer. Your kids might, have whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to add more things to cancel us. I wanted to get in.
Well, we've already said so many that...
Oh, okay, great. I was going to say, I want to get in on this bit. I want to dive head first into it.
It was a very politically neutral bit. However, what you're talking about fear, I was telling Ben, legitimately, like the same thing as you. I would want to go. I would want to go out with the sharks, but I think once I got out there, I would in my head either time it and like force myself to be out there for 30 seconds, or I would get out there, be like, okay, I did it. I saw the sharks, and I would immediately go back to the cage and be like, I'm done.
I feel that. Well, I would do that anyway, just because I don't think I have like a ton of stamina for swimming. We're 3 miles out. There's no standing here. You have to constantly be swimming, treading water. You're not really
treading water if you're under it.
Well,
treading water is only hard.
You're like snorkeling.
It's not hard to snorkel. You're essentially floating down there. Same, but it's gonna be fun.
I'm telling you, man. I just lack. This is maybe the next psychoanalyzing. I lack the ability to float, man. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I guess, how long do you have to hold your breath? They don't give you scuba gear?
No, you have a snorkel. Like, you don't have to hold your breath. You're out there with a snorkel.
So you're at the top of the water.
Yeah.
How are you in a cage then?
You could get into a cage.
Okay,
you can be in a cage.
Options.
You can be in a cage, or you can free swim.
But I think
the cage similarly is you get into the cage
and
they just like put your head in with the snorkel.
For some reason in my head, I immediately imagined you have a breathing apparatus. And
you could maybe
20 feet down.
Maybe you would have to be like scuba certified.
You'd have to be scuba certified.
Case. But
so I'm not
I think it's just a cage right off the boat that you can like get into.
It's a cage on top of the water.
You just step in.
Standing on a platform.
Pretty cool. I think I maybe could have gotten this from the boat. If one thing is for certain, if I went on this tour, I would immediately tell the captain that I think we're going to need a bigger boat. I think, and also we're going to do the Jurassic Park thing. I already have it pre-planned. So we're driving around, and I'm going to be like, there is supposed to be dinosaurs on this tour, right? Because that's what Jeff Goldblum says.
Question. There are meant to be dinosaurs on this boat, yeah?
I don't know what it is that I enjoy, like, really good. When we go on vacation, I just enjoy really good puns, bad jokes. We're in Rome. In Italy, everything is, when in Rome, right? We're in Greece. Trying to read a menu. I don't know. It's all Greek to me. That's dinosaurs. I'm just quoting Jurassic Park, right? I don't know. That's maybe something else we can look into. Why do I have such an urge?
Are you guys going to do the Jurassic Park thing? Is that what you're
Definitely going to do the Jurassic Park thing. Probably not going to do the shark thing. We're just, but I really want to, and I don't know why I really want to. I am going to snorkel in multiple coves that are in the ocean where sharks do exist.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool, dude.
In the Pacific Ocean, there's multiple.
There's multiple sharks.
It's at least two. I'd say at least two.
There is a cove called Paradise Cove.
Oh. There's dice in there.
There's
a pair of them.
There's a pair of dice. The big fluffy ones that you hold from the mirror. Apparently there are sea turtles that like to come and hang out in this cove, and they will like swim up to you because they've been around humans enough that it's not like
they've been around.
Yeah, they're hundreds of years, or just 100. I don't know. But I'm a big sea turtle fan, so turtles in general. But I'm really hoping to snorkel with a turtle.
Teenage Mutant Ninja ones.
I mean, if he comes out of the water and starts doing ninjutsu, my mind, I'm going to lose it.
He can't hold anything because he's got fins. Instead of the traditional.
Teenage Mutant Sea Turtles Ninja Sea Turtles was less of a hit because of the fins.
They're just constantly water skiing everywhere.
They go, you know what? What if we took sharks out of the water and put them in the street and then called them street sharks? You don't know this.
Which is annoying because I always was proposing river rats.
River
which is the
rats.
opposite. You take the rats out of the street and you put them in the sharks environment. Nobody thought it was
I feel
cool.
like Ben thinks that I'm just making a dumb.
No, I know what street sharks.
You don't know what street sharks. You're googling street sharks right now.
I'm googling it for him. 94 to 97.
I know what street sharks are.
Oh,
Street sharks
these
are cool.
guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Plot: a university professor named Dr. Robert Bolton and his partner Dr. Luther Paradigm created a machine known as the Gene Slammer, which I feel like is a great WWE name. The Gene Slammer, which is
his name
capable
would
of
be
changing
Gene.
aquatic
Yeah.
animals into anthropomorphic hybrids, and then
Who
these
doesn't love an
sharks
anthropomorphic hybrid?
just tear up the streets.
Yeah.
They dive under them and swim. Not a whole lot of stuff happening, but boy, as a 4 to 7 year old boy, this.
So much was
Oh,
happening.
you can watch it for free on Roku,
Dude, you know what
just
else
so
was
you
sick?
know. And I
You know what
might
else
do
was sick?
that.
You remember freaking Tomcats?
Oh yeah,
Dude, freaking Tomcats,
yeah.
man.
T-Bone and
Oh,
what's
gosh,
his other?
that's a great pull. I don't remember.
T-Bone and
Slicer.
It's like, I feel like
Cheese Whiz.
Is it
I don't
Slider?
I have no idea.
T-Bone and Mike. I feel like it is something. Like,
I just know they were like literally like Top Gun.
I don't think it's Tomcats. I think it's.
Sorry.
Boy, this is gonna be.
Well, they were cats that flew jets.
Yeah. Is it Tomcats?
They flew fighter jets. It was awesome. And if you don't remember it,
No.
then
SWAT cat.
SWAT cats. Oh, how dare us forget SWAT cats with a K, I believe. Who are the main characters? Is it T-Bone and Mike?
dude.
Dude, this one only last. How does Street Sharks last 3 years and SWAT cats only lasted 2?
T-Bone and Razor.
And Razor. Oh boy, it wasn't Mike. But now we're just digressing into
Yeah, we are.
talking
got
about terrible
90s
cartoons.
It got canceled because thought the show was too violent for kids.
Hell yeah, it was. It was awesome.
Dude, I was talking about. I did a David and Goliath reference in my sermon on Sunday, and I was like, "Look, most of you, whether you have like a big church background or not, you've heard of David and Goliath. A lot of you probably watched the VeggieTales version of David and Goliath. Personally, David and Goliath was never really, or VeggieTales was never really a hit for me. Wasn't really violent enough. I like my cartoons extra violent. I was like, if they were like slicing Larry the Cucumber into pickles, or if Bob the Tomato had got cut up and put on a burger and then his children gathered around and they were like, no, we will avenge you, father. It's like, I probably would have been more into VeggieTales. But all that to say, David and Goliath, you're familiar.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It was a fun bit.
So okay, fear, immersing yourself with fear.
Yeah.
Taking a shot of fear.
Am I a strange person for wanting this?
No.
Is it somewhat normal, even though you would say, yeah, I want to swim openly with sharks?
I don't think it's because it's offered and I'm assuming it's a safe environment.
I mean,
If you were just like, I'm just going to go find a shark. And I'm gonna go
rationally,
swim
that's
next
what
to
I am like saying. And I think you could probably reason that you're like, this is probably the same sharks. They like know that these guys are going to put food out for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like also people in the water, but those are less appealing than the food, right?
I think it's interesting that human beings that are attracted to things that they're afraid of, but I also think it's largely just a neurological function. Human beings' brains crave stimulation.
Is it a male thing that you like want to conquer fear?
No. I mean, I think it
Because I think this is a little different than just
positive
watching a movie
risk-taking.
with fear in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like listening to a true crime podcast.
But women also like to do thrilling things. They just like to do different thrilling things.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
But I
no,
do think
you're right.
positive risk taking is generally associated as a male trait. It's something that males, for testosterone, I think, kind of like helps boost positive risk taking.
I definitely look at risk taking very similarly to the guy in Free Solo.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on his name now?
Stanley Yelnats.
No, that's Holes. Close. But he's like, yes, I'm free soloing the largest like thing that's going to be free soloed. But the amount of time and work that I have put into that, it's not like he goes to a new rock and he's like, I think I can free solo that 1,000-foot cliff. He like climbs it with ropes and maps out his,
and then does it.
Right, like he maps out his thing and he practices with ropes. And now, like, eventually he does have to do it without ropes, but it's this calculated risk where it was when I think we've talked about this before, but when I do like a flip off of like a 20-foot cliff, that when someone goes, what if you land on your neck and break your neck? I go, have you never done a backflip before? If I land on my neck, like something has gone very, very wrong. Like
I just didn't jump.
Do I like maybe land on my back and my back stings a lot, like and the wind gets knocked out of me? Probably.
My belly.
That's a more realistic thing. But like my neck getting broken, it just doesn't compute with me because because I know how to do a flip.
Yeah, because it's
and I've done it from 10 feet before. Yeah. And I just know how to do it from 20 feet.
Well, also,
but I'm not going to do it from 60 feet.
Well, I mean, you could, but diving into it wouldn't be any different. Diving into water is only dangerous if you're too high, or if the water's not deep enough. But there's a bunch of people jumping off a cliff in an area where the cliff is regularly jumped, you don't have to go do a depth check. If you're jumping off of a cliff that you've never done a depth check on before,
you should do a depth check.
You're just an idiot.
I also don't dive head first because I'm not good at diving. I always go tippy toes first. And so worst case scenario, I'm landing on my feet on a big rock, which is not going to be great. I might break my leg or whatever. Head. But I'm not hitting my head. I'm not, I have heard those stories before. You don't do a depth check. You dive in head first. You hit your head on a rock. I get it. But I think
super scary.
There's something about Alex Honnold is his name in Free Solo. There is something about like risk taking, like controlled or evaluated risk taking, if that makes sense. And
there is. This is the most Jordan Peterson conversation ever.
When I see something on
jump head first off of a cliff without doing a depth check.
I mean, when I see something on a tourist website that says you can swim with sharks.
Maybe you are. Maybe you aren't. Sorry.
No, it's good. Also, I had another thing in there, but I forgot. Like flying, right? Like I'm not afraid of flying. If I really like focus on the fact that I'm like up 3,000 feet or whatever, however high up you go in a plane, maybe I'll start to get a little nervous about it. But knowing that flying is the safest way to travel, and honestly, the only plane crashes that happen are in like it feels like in third world countries.
It's not
so
common.
Maybe if you're flying Malaysia Air, you might have cause for concern. But I haven't heard of anything in my time of a commercial flight going from Seattle to Hawaii that has crashed, right? I'm not flying through the Bermuda Triangle.
I mean, Boeing didn't have a super great record this year, but we'll see.
Well, what a year for Boeing. Yeah, that's...
What's going to happen? Are we going to fly into a giant building?
I mean...
Not likely.
Not likely. Now, there are times that it happens, right? Like, the bad thing does happen. But I'll take... Even in COVID, someone was like... I remember she was trying to make a point, but she goes, if you're in a room with 100 people, at least 2 of them has COVID. And I go, I'm taking those odds every time.
Make it 3. Line up and give me a kiss, everybody.
You're telling me that I can like interact with potentially 98 other people before I get COVID? I'm rolling the dice every time. And I know that that's not her point. She was like appalled by these numbers. But I obviously just think differently. I've had COVID 3 times, but it's that doesn't matter.
The COVID statistics were intentionally misleading from the beginning, so that's a whole other. People
I think I had COVID twice.
Like telling people that they can't take risks because if they take risks, other people will get sick and die is crazy. Partially because it preys on people's fears, and that's what we're talking about. Is like fear is like a real and powerful experience that you have. Whether it is like you have a natural fear of heights, it's powerful. It's powerfully stimulating, and to some people it's so stimulating that they cannot handle it. It becomes system overload. And so I think people, like, there's just a threshold. Like, there's obviously, like you said, a threshold of stupidity where you're just doing things. And I think people who have issues with understimulation, or they have trauma that causes them to want to crave stimulation, they end up escalating, and there's like a diminishing return on fear. Like the first time you do a backflip, it's scary. The second time, not so scary. You've done it enough, you become numb to it. Or
if you haven't done it for a really long time, right? Like I remember when we were first learning like backflips off of stuff, like onto the hard ground, even though I had done it on the trampoline. Yeah. There's a different feeling, and I like did it one time and did it successfully, but then I didn't do it for like 4 months, and then I had to like regain all the courage again to do it. Yeah.
But also what you said about, and I don't know how much testosterone and like
I don't think I have
genetics,
a ton, but
I don't know how much testosterone and like male genetics versus female genetics play into this, but there is a reality that human beings understand, that there's a risk-reward ratio, in that if there's just a part of you that understands, and if you're lucky, you get to learn this as a child. You get to learn in safe environments, like, oh, if I risk a little bit, then I can earn more than if I was being safe. I can get things that I wouldn't get. I can conquer things that I wouldn't conquer. Like you were talking about, do we just want to conquer things? And I think there is no conquering without there's no accomplishment without fear and risk involved too. And so I think a lot of us associate those things. So like, why do we associate like, oh, when I feel this way, it means that there's something good on the other side.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I don't mean to, make you afraid and bring up statistics. We were talking about that a little bit. But I have, in 2024 alone, there have been 4 shark attacks. Jesse, I think you should cancel the whole trip.
Dude, okay. Kate and I have had this conversation about Lake Michigan. She's like, I don't know, big body of water, there's got to be sharks. And I was like, I mean, technically, there are routes to get to the ocean from Lake Michigan. Right. And son of a gun, back in like 1950, there was a shark attack in Lake Michigan. It was not terrifying. Enough. It's not enough for me to not swim in Lake Michigan, but...
Well, listen to this, okay? So 2 of them was from surfing. 1 of them was from swimming. 1 of them was swimming with sharks. And a victim, hear me out. The victim's name, T. Perry.
Jesse.
Tyler Perry got...
And it says fatal, loss of right arm, severe lacerations to right thigh. Someone needs to check on Tyler Perry.
So, fatal, I feel like all of that other stuff... Are we saying that he died?
It fatal. Says T. Perry right here. There can't be... I mean, surely there's not another T. Perry.
How fatal was it?
I mean, well, what's the point of saying all of the other things?
Probably to describe how he died.
Yeah, he lost his arm, blood.
I'm just saying, you're burning the lead with fatal. That's my point.
So, yeah, definitely
finish with that.
One of the persons was swimming with sharks, and so that's what you're going to do.
Where was this at? Does it say?
Oahu.
That's literally where I'm going.
And all 4 of them have been in Oahu. Am I saying that right?
They're all Oahu. Off the... Wait, are these Oahu shark attacks?
This is
.com?
This is from .gov. State of Hawaii shark attack.
All in Oahu. So the good news is, I don't think I have to pay money to potentially see a shark. I can risk my life for free, which is great.
And they were all most of them were in March and June.
Yeah.
At Paradise Beach.
Kate, I'm not going to tell you about this. And you're only going to learn about it after watching this. And it's only because I love you and I don't want your trip to be ruined.
But again, like 4 shark attacks on Oahu. Do you know how many people are in the water?
That's a great point.
In the last 9 months, there have been 10 million people.
I listened to a surfer who like got a chunk taken out of his leg, and they're like, "Do you still surf?" He goes, "Yeah." I mean, getting bit by a shark is literally like 1 in like 10,000 for surfers.
Right. And he's like, and then he goes, since it's happened to me 3 times,
no, he goes,
my chances are astronomical.
He goes, do you know how many people have been attacked by a shark twice? Like the fact that it has happened now, definitely I'm not going to happen again, right? I go, he's got a point. He's got a point.
At his funeral, the Hawaiian pastor's like, yeah, this bro was some kind crazy. You believe he no get attacked by shark ever again?
I mean,
okay.
Shock Mahalo. Okay,
I gotta go.
I gotta go too.
Dude, tell Kate to send me lots of pictures from Hawaii, dude.
I will.
Okay.
Also, when I inevitably get bit by a shark,
hopefully
we'll send those pics as well. Hopefully, we won't end up like Tyler Perry.
Jay Roberts.
What's the one that's confidential?
I don't know. There's 2 confidential. One is
I was over there. I'll tell you right now, there were actually 3 assassination attempts this year.
One was a shark. It was an Iranian shark.
Political
he was wearing
He
was wearing a Sharks for Kamala shirt.
Sharks for Kamala.
That's a Great Whites for Kamala shirt. She was wearing a Great Whites for Kamala shirt. Are there any Great Whites? I don't know. They've called me Great White before. Mostly the blacks.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry, that was kind of, we devolved a little bit, but it was fun, though, right? We had fun. You had a good time.
I think so.
I had a great time.
I got to see what's broken in my kitchen now.
We will see you guys in a couple of weeks because I will be in Hawaii, so we're not recording next week. But in 2 weeks, we'll see you again.